So today we're going to talk about a more serious topic, which is why does success lead to depression? This isn't always the case. However, people in risk management, quantitative fields, algorithmic trading, I'm sure a variety of fields, especially tech professionals as well, lead to this phenomenon where success basically brings on depression. And so we're going to kind of cover the basics of why this happens. So many of you are actually trying to do something that requires a lot of education, a lot of dedication, a lot of studying. And so we have more or less a condition that's called the big fish, little pond effect. And I'll actually provide a link below to a video by ASAP Science, which I really like to watch their videos. And it kind of covers this in general. However, the gist is that um, when you're a big fish in a little pond, meaning that you're at the top of your class, you're at the top of some group or category that you belong to, you feel really good about yourself. However, on the flip side, when you're a little fish in a big pond, for example, in that video by ASAP Science, they talk about going to the right college and how you could be a really smart person, like in high school, graduate 4.0, valedictorian, great SAT scores. However, when you get somewhere like Harvard or MIT, you become a little fish in a big pond because there's lots of people that are just like you. And so this is kind of the effect that happens in general with people that are in IT, quantitative finance, and different fields, is that you start out and you graduate undergrad. And so, based on census data, in America, about 32% of people have an undergraduate degree. So when you're an undergrad, you start comparing yourself to everyone around you, and it's very easy to see that, oh, like I'm really smart. There's lots of people. Maybe if you go to a smaller university, you're happier. If you go to like an Ivy League university and you're still really smart, but you're not towards the top, you might not be as happy. But at this point, you compare yourself and you're looking around thinking, all right, I'm pretty smart. I'm pretty comfortable. I'm pretty confident. Life's great. And then, you keep working on in life and you go and you get, say, a master's degree. Well, according to the census data, about 11% of Americans have a master's degree or a graduate degree. Out of total population in the United States, 1.68% have a PhD. And so the problem is that in many of our fields, it requires graduate education as well as maybe a PhD, certifications, specialties, and a lot of work. And so what happens is it's kind of like a pyramid where you start at the bottom, and you're one of 32% of Americans, which is great. I mean, there's lots of people. It's easier to be towards the top of the pack. However, the problem is you get smarter and smarter, and you get more degrees and more education and more specialization. You start realizing that there's only like 1.68% with a PhD, or in graduate degrees, so master's and PhD, there's only 11%. And that seems like quite a bit of people, but the problem is you start narrowing this down, and you realize, I'm not comparing myself to people with a graduate degree in psychology. I'm only comparing myself to people with a graduate degree, say in mathematics and statistics. And so you start narrowing this down, you start realizing that the higher up you get, the more success you have. That basically, you know, you seem like you're worse and worse off. However, it's hard to look globally at, the United States as a whole or the entire world and realize, you're really like in the top, maybe 1/4% of people. And so comparing this is kind of like a goal, right? You set this goal that you want to be a professional in whatever field, like IT, statistics, psychology, social sciences, a professor, doing academics. I mean, it could be anything. It could be goals in life. It can be, you want to be the best basketball player, the best athlete. And basketball would be a great example, right? You play high school basketball. You're the best person, maybe on your team. You're one of the best people in your league. And then as you get better and better, you end up going to kind of a university setting. You're playing there. Now you're kind of like middle pack. And then if you're lucky enough and you're good enough and you practice enough, you eventually get to the NBA. And even then, maybe it's not really like the top of the NBA and maybe it's a bad team. And so you start realizing that, it's just depressing. You start looking around and realizing that it's not what you signed up for. And I think part of this problem is because when you see movies or you talk to people that are successful, motivational speakers and all that, they look around and they tell you how great it was. They tell you they put in all this hard work. They went to all these great schools. They got all these certificates. And so, you look at it, you follow the same path, and then you realize the higher and higher you get, there's less people like you. And so a lot of times depression sets in as you realize, it's hard being the best at what you want to do. And this is a real struggle, even for people that end up making it to the very top. I'm sure people that are the best in their field in sports and academic adventures and careers, they've faced high amounts of depression. And the reason is because you get higher and higher up, there's nobody that can relate to you. Even in a graduate program of, say, 30 students, right, you might only get along with, say, 5 or 10 of them that are like good friends. And out of those, no one really wants to talk about, like, oh, I've got all these classes. I'm struggling with just being depressing, and it's just tough. And so people don't talk about this a lot in graduate school. And so this can actually lead to burnout. And a misconception is typically that burnout only happens, during your job. And so everybody looks at it when you graduate with a graduate degree and they think, oh, you're going to go out, get a job, you'll love the job, and life's great. However, the problem is that you might have already burned out in graduate school. I know a lot of graduate programs are easy and life's great and you just float through, and those people are amazing and happy. However, when you start getting into programs that are like top 10 in the country, they really push you to take classes more like at a PhD level and not the master's level. And you look around and everyone's competing for those jobs, everyone's competing to do the best. It can be depressing. And a lot of people don't talk about this topic, and so it results in again more depression because people are kind of worse and worse off, as basically the more success you have, the less people there are around you. So the thing is how do you combat this? It's very challenging, especially when you hit burnout. A burnout can occur, like I said, in graduate school. It can occur in the first 6 months of your job. It can occur 5, 10, 20 years down the road in your job and your career. However, these happen when more or less it gets tedious, it gets boring. You start kind of losing the flame of why you're doing it. And so there's a variety of options. You can switch jobs, you can change careers. However, a lot of times this doesn't help. And so one of the things I've found that actually helps with depression in general and working with kind of being towards the top of your field is getting a hobby. I know this sounds kind of rudimentary. It's really challenging. It's easier said than done to just find a hobby that you like to do. It typically has to meet ridiculous requirements. So I love to race motorcycles, one of my favorite things in the world. However, I haven't done it for, I don't know, over 10 years now, really, because I can't afford it, right? I mean, I went to graduate school. It cost a bunch of money. My dreams and careers have been put above that, and so I don't have that hobby anymore. But you can look out and try to find other hobbies. The reason hobbies are helpful is because it takes your mind off what you're currently working on. So when you end up trying to be the best and you have these goals in life and you're really working towards them, a lot of times nothing else really matters. You're just focused. I mean, I study 20, 30, 40 hours a week sometimes. I have a full-time job on top of that. And it's just rough. It can come down to being difficult times. But again, trying to find something that's a hobby, which is hard because people that are so dedicated view it as kind of like a time waste. Like I'm wasting time, like playing video games, for example. However, it's crucial because if not, you're going to burn out. Basically, you'll stall your career. And a lot of times people just give up. And it's kind of a sad ending to, a lot of success, a lot of time, a lot of commitment. However, having hobbies is beneficial. The other reason hobbies are beneficial is because you can find people with similar hobbies. A lot of my friends that I met before I even started on this venture of doing quantitative finance, they don't even know what quantitative finance is. They don't really care. They have jobs doing everything from, fishing for crab and fish in Alaska to doing construction work. To accountants, to internal auditors. I mean, they're just kind of all over the board friend-wise. But again, for me, having a hobby helps me meet people like this. It helps me to find people that are different than me. But again, we have something in common. And so this commonality is great because you can talk to these people about your hobby. You can talk to them about life. You know, it kind of takes you off the topic of what you're like so focused on with your main goal, you know. And so having this hobby really kind of breaks the depression up. It also helps too if you can find people that are like you. I know this is challenging, especially when you get like further and further in your success, that there's less and less people around you that understand what it's like to really get to that point. And so if you can find one person, maybe two people, it's great to talk to them, you know, just check in, see how their career's going, see how their goals are going, see how their life's going. I mean, ask about their, you know, their significant other, or if they have any new hobbies they've picked up, even talking about, you know, like your job. I have a few colleagues, I guess past colleagues that I talk to, and they're kind of my support network. I talk to them about, you know, like, oh, work sucks because X, Y, and Z. I'm just having a rough day. Or, you know, I'm stuck career-wise because I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. But again, I just can't get there. I don't know what to do. And so it's nice to have people around you that can help bounce ideas off you. So, you know, in general, getting to the top, it's tough. It's hard getting better and better. And also, as you get towards the top, it's harder to move up because there's less and less people to pass, or less and less goals to complete as you're going. And so it's crucial to kind of have that network around you. So networking is crucial again, as usual. But again, trying to find a key network of people and trying to find something else to keep your mind busy and interested. But again, that hobby should be something that's more or less like a waste of time. And the fact that like it should be a way to relieve stress, to take your mind off the topic, and to really, you know, separate yourself from what you're working on. As a general life goal. And so if you do that, I've found it actually helps because you can focus better. You have new ideas. You can think. You can look at things more clearly than when you're stuck in a problem for days and weeks and months, and it just builds upon your mind, and sometimes a solution can't be found. So again, you'll see as you success and get higher up in whatever goals you have in life, depression is usually to follow as kind of this big fish, little pond effect occurs. And so I would encourage you guys to try to find people like you, try to find new hobbies, and try to combat depression as well before it really turns into a career burnout or a kind of a life burnout. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time. Thanks for watching my video. If you find it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe.